Well, another day, another dollar. We're got our boat open here, got our chargers on. We'll see how it works out in a little while, but for now I have to go do some other great race boat life here and pull out the dream machine. So now that we have our normal stuff done, it's time to get back to the abnormal. We're getting ready to set our floats. And just like normal, I'm sure you've all seen it 1,000 times on YouTube, you know, you pull your plug, turn clockwise to lower the float, counterclockwise, lock it back down with a screw. So we're not going to bore you with all that. But one thing we do like is the fact that we have electric fuel pumps. So we don't even have to start the motor. We just flip a switch on the dash. Well, our front float looks kind of perfect. Okay, this is a total fail. I don't know what's going on with my fuel filters this year, but trying to make sure they don't leak, I've actually broken a hose clamp. It's pretty intense. Alright, we had this problem when we were putting it together. We're out of hose clamps, or at least good ones. So I guess we need to take a ride to the auto parts store before we even get the 7/16 canisters. I'll tell you, nothing else can stop a day like having to make a trip to the auto parts store for boat stuff. Craziness. 25 minutes later, and I'm not exaggerating, we've got these nifty little hose clamps. They have everybody go through the parts counter line. So if you got a special order, or you're looking for something, or you haven't got a clue what you're looking for, and you want them to find it for you, even though you don't have a clue, you have to stand behind them and wait to pay your $5.49 for your stupid hose clamps. That is the stupidest system I've ever seen in my life. Oh well, we're out of here. I get asked about these all the time, and what do? They pretty much do what they're labeled. They are all connected to different shift cables that run throughout the boat. The first one, the bilge scuppler, this opens this valve and allows a lot of water to exit the boat through a hole in the transom. This is the transom drain plug. That's the scuppler. The ballast fill is a valve that will allow water to fill the bow ballast tank. This is the water pickup for the ballast tank, which also serves both motors. And it runs through an 1.25" hose up to a valve. They would use ballast in the front of the boat to offset the huge fuel loads they used to carry for these long races offshore. So to fill the ballast tank, you basically grab the handle, open it up as far as it'll go, and when you're done filling, up on the bow, there's a little vent that will blow water out of when it's full. When you were done filling, you would just close this valve. It would shut off, and as you would burn your fuel load off, you'd want to dump off that ballast weight so you wouldn't end up being bow heavy. So you would just pull this valve, and it would dump it out of scuppler out of the bottom of the boat. The ballast tank dumps out of this scuppler, which is on the port side up towards the bow. Well, thank God once again for electric fuel pumps, because our complete failure, if the motor was running, we would have gasoline flowing everywhere while the motor's running. Would have been very unappealing. So our deal is we got 2 new hose clamps on each side. Put this paper towel underneath of it. It's perfectly clean. That way if anything comes out of it, we'll see it. And from there, we're still trying to get our float level checked on this. So I need to get a little gas out of there too first. I think it's a little over full anyway. I think the float's actually a little lower than the actual fuel level is right now, so let's work on that. So let's try a little wicking. Look at that. Just drawing it right down the paper towel. That should be good. Interesting. I can't get anything better than 3.5. That's not good. At least all my leaks have stopped. Oh, let's turn this off. Well, I had some sins here, and I have to admit them. First off, we left our float adjustment kind of loose, and it poured gas over the backside, so I thought I had a major issue there. And then the front float adjustment was a little loose, and it leaked a little bit. And then this leaked from both gaskets, which we actually had to tighten up with a wrench for the first time I've ever had to do that. New hose clamps have stopped all this leaking, which again we're going to replace soon anyway, and we're going to order like 100 of those hose clamps online so we don't have to go through that again. We did get our float set. It's about exactly where we want it. Just perfect. And we're pretty good to go on here. Now we just have to figure out why we have such low fuel pressure. Didn't realize that we actually rebuilt this carburetor after we put it away. We had such good results with drilling the, I don't know if you can see that down there, but there's a little hole drilled in that plate, and we did that to the rear motor, and man, that's calmed that thing down a little bit. Let me tell you, the idle screws didn't matter, they didn't function, and then we drilled these plates and they function real nice. So now it seems like Jegs and Summit and them are actually offering those drilled plates now, so really nice to calm down a lumpy cam a little bit at idle, which this thing does not like the idle at all. But we need to move on to the rear motor and see if we can also see what we come up with fuel pressure. And if it's the same, then we have a fuel pump issue. Just the manufacturer. And they're nice Carter competition fuel pumps too. They're really nice, and to have them be only 3 pounds each, that would kind of really suck. Off to the next motor. Okay, so back here we're going to do the same thing. We're going to replace our clamps just because we want to. We're going to re-tighten this up with actually a wrench. Again, we've never had to do that. And then we're going to give ourselves a... Now this one should be adjusted, but we're going to check the floats anyway. Seems like the rear bowl is a little heavy for some reason, but we'll find out. And then we're also going to find out whether the pressure is equal. And if that's the case, then there's something wrong with Mr. Carter. And I don't like that, because Mr. Carter costs a lot of money. So I'm going to get to work here. This side's got about the same. So they got gas running out of the top of the carburetor. Let's see what that's all about. Well, that one's good. Actually, you're even gonna put it down just a quarter turn. So we had to go to our drawer of misfit gaskets. Get a couple gaskets for here. Looks like we're having an issue, but we'll get that scraped off and replaced. So everything looks dry. I don't have any leakage, it looks like. I gotta say, I'm not a real huge fan of these Holleys, unless you're like drag racing or something. Just too many things to go wrong. I mean, you got bowls that'll leak out of gaskets, you got metering blocks that'll leak out of gaskets, you've got accelerator pumps in the bottoms that'll leak out of gaskets. And they're just not the most user-friendly when it comes, especially when it comes to boats. But that's what it was on in this motor, or on this motor, and that's what we're going to keep for now. They're still holding right there. Nice thing. Reset the gauge. They're still right there. Our floats are set. Our bowls are right. Nothing seems to be leaking. And we can't figure out why we're sitting around 3.5–4 pounds of fuel pressure. So we've had the battery charger on for about between a couple hours last night and another 4 or 5 hours, maybe 6 today. We have it up to 12.8180. We expect that to go down a little bit, probably somewhere around 12.2, 12.4, somewhere around there. But we'll leave the chargers off overnight and we'll recheck them tomorrow and see what happens. See what the other one looks like. Now we've had this guy off for a few minutes. Seems to be down to about 12.23. Now if it doesn't go much lower than that, we'll be okay. Oh, there goes the 12.22. We'll see what happens. Well, like I said, we'll leave it sit overnight and then we'll check it tomorrow. Maybe it needs a couple cycles also. It's time to put our new straps on. For some reason, the new clip wouldn't clip into the new top, but the old clip did. It works. Looks like that's about as far as we're getting today. Hey, I just noticed that red subscribe button down there in the right hand corner, same color as this red stripe on this flag. It'd be only patriotic to actually hit that button down there, so give it a try. Okay, this is a total fail. The ballast fill is a valve that allows water to ballast fill. The ballast tank dumps out of this scuppler. Yeah. So for some reason the old force of something